problem. I would like to introduce
Bigfoots Pad Paranormal Investigations Team.
And welcome to another edition of Bigfoots Pad Paranormal Radio. Today's show is our Thanksgiving annual special about the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, and with the second half of the show, we're going to have personal experiences. And all of my co-hosts are on the line right now with me. I'll let them introduce themselves.
I'm Tim.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And Brett is also on the line.
Yeah, I had myself
All right,
on.
So what's that?
I had myself on mute accidentally.
Oh. Well, I think Becky should be calling in a little bit. Usually she does. We're not going to really have any news for today's show because last time we had so many personal experiences that people wanted to share. We didn't get a chance to do all of them. So that carried over to this week's show. But, anyways, you said you had a little bit of paranormal news, Nick?
No, not at this time. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to get any.
Anyway, we'll get started with the topic of today. It's called the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon, also known as the anesthetic prowler, the Mad Anestheticus, and the Phantom Anestheticus, and the Mad Gasser of Roanoke, was the name given to the person or people believed to be responsible for a series of apparent gas attacks that occurred in Virginia during the early 1930s and Mattoon, Illinois in the mid-1940s. Some people say these attacks were mass hysteria. And other people say they're connected with the ultimate explanation, it says, was still debated to this day. I was going to say, before we get started with a little bit of this, I know you're all familiar with this. What do you think, Nick? What do you think of the Mad Gasser?
Well, I think that my opinion is it's probably not something so much paranormal as it is something. It's a madman who ran around killing people and making people sick, dressed in a chem suit with poisonous gas strapped to his back. That's what my opinion is.
You guys agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Sure. Brett thinks it's something new.
Yeah, aliens pumping gas into my house.
I mean, it could be, but I just think it's some maniac who's running around putting gas into people's homes.
Well, for those of our audience that don't know what the Mad Gasser is, I'll talk a little bit about some of the sightings and the way he looks and things. I'll start with the way he looks. It says, most contemporary descriptions of the Mad Gasser are based on eyewitness testimony. And it says, they describe the Gasser as being a tall, thin man or creature dressed in dark clothing and wearing a tight-fitting cap or hat. Another report, made some weeks later, described the Gasser as being a female dressed as a man. And the Gasser had also been described as carrying a flit gun an agricultural tool used for spraying pesticide, which purportedly, I can't hardly say that, used to expel the gas into people's homes. So, now we got cross-dressing thrown in the mix, and it's really, really bizarre now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what's kind of weird about it is I actually have a book where it said they actually described it as it's 2 or 3 people actually thought it was some sort of alien. It was kind of different.
Yeah, I mean, the whole phenomena is just weird of the Mad Gasser.
Well, just for fun, Brent, what do you think is the possibility that it could have been an alien, though? Because you figure not all of these attacks happen in a big city.
I don't know. What would be the benefit of pumping gas into a home for an alien? Unless, it's like sleeping gas or something to probe them in their sleep or something.
I don't know. That's what I was wondering myself, actually.
Well, I mean, like, most of the people that, that it happened to died, right?
They either got really sick or they I guess some of them did die, but most of them just got really sick.
Mm.
I wrote, the first report was in February 1934 in Virginia. And I wrote, the first report occurred at the home of Carl Huffman in Haymaker Town in Virginia. Let me start over. The first report occurred by Carl Huffman in Haymaker Town, where there were 3 reported attacks in the course of one night. It says, At 10 at night on December 22nd, 1933, Mrs. Huffman reported smelling an unusual odor, which was overcome by a feeling of nausea. The odor and the nausea returned again at about 10:30. So I have to convert it from military time to normal time, at which time Carl Huffman contacted the police. A third attack occurred around 1 a.m. It says, this time affecting the entire house in total. 8 members of the Huffington family were affected by this gas, along with Ashley Henderson, a guest staying at the house. Their symptoms included headaches, nausea, facial swelling, and constriction of the mouth and throat. Alice Huffman, the daughters of the father, suffered a more severe reaction to the gas than the other residents. Her throat became so constricted that she stopped breathing and had to be resuscitated. She also suffered convulsive fits for several weeks after the attack, and though local physician S.F. Driver recorded at the time that this was most likely due to anxiety brought on by the attack, rather than the gas itself, is what he was saying. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. What do you think it would be the motive behind this? I mean, from what it sounded like, they're just random people.
Yeah, and, I studied criminal justice, and, Jared, I know you studied law, so you might be a little familiar with this. Most crimes do not occur from random attacks. Usually it's done by people that you know. And for the fact that these attacks, were random, really, I mean, it doesn't wipe away the chances of it being a madman like most of us think. But my sound. But with the numerous attacks that occurred, plus the strange nature of them, combined with the fact that the attacks are done randomly, I've actually kind of just thought about it in 1 second and realized that this might not be a madman we're dealing with. But it's just a really weird, bizarre, out there event that you really can't put your finger down on quite.
Well, I was going to say, well, don't you think it sounded like that whoever it was trying to kill those people because he came back 3 different times in the night?
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to be pretty confident to come back to the same location 3 times trying to do something like that.
Yeah. Well, then you also get like really weird crimes like Jack the Ripper, who would, I think, rape his victims and then kill them and then literally butcher them and take out their organs and all sorts of other strange things. So you do get these criminal minds out there that are just beyond the scope of what you can think of.
Well, like Brent was saying, it said they had to resuscitate that one girl or that woman. Sounds like, I wonder who they were aiming for, though, or if just everybody in general.
Yeah. I don't know.
I get to ask Brent the famous question. Okay, Brent, what would you do if we were doing something and you've seen gas getting pumped into the house and you've seen them running away in the front yard?
The first reaction would be to chase after them. Unless he had
Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, in this case, like you've seen the gasser came back 3 times in the same night. I mean, you'd think they'd be in for a whooping, right?
Yeah.
But I wrote, the next recorded incident occurred in Cloverdale on December 24th, which is 2 days later. And it says, it was Clarence Hall, his wife, and their 2 kids. As they returned from a church service at around 9 o'clock, they detected a strong, sweet odor and immediately began to feel weak and nauseated. Police investigating the case discovered that a nail had been pulled from a rear window near where the gas appeared to be most concentrated, and presumed that the nail hole had been used to inject the gas into the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Brent was saying, I don't think it's alien, like in my book.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally don't think it's an alien. Like I said, I think it's just a very, very smart and insane criminal.
What do you think, Tim? You've been kind of quiet.
I think it's just a very sick man, I'd say something.
Well, Big Red just got in the chat room.
Oh, Big Red.
Becky, a.k.a. nicknamed Big Red.
Oh.
Even though she has no sort of resemblance to that at all, to the gum or the color red. A third incident occurred on December 27th, which is in Troutville. And it says, Kelly and his mother reported similar signs of symptoms to the Huffman and Hall case. And I wrote, a fourth and fifth incident occurred on January 10th when Mrs. Moore, a guest at the home of a Haymakertown resident, reported hearing voices outside before the gas was injected into the room through a damaged window. Kind of weird. So it said that he was talking like maybe there was more than one person.
So,
what's that?
I don't know. I was just saying that there could be more than one person. It could take a number of people to perform attacks of this nature over the period of time that they occurred.
Well, but why? My question is it some sort of a chemical suit that they're wearing, or is it because the weird tight-fitting hat thing, was that like a gas mask of some sort, you think?
Probably. That's what I think it's a chem suit that the attacker was wearing. That's what the description sounds similar to.
Or maybe it was like a homemade chem suit or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were the symptoms again for that?
For the first attack, I think it's...
Well, for all of them. Well, like like what are the symptoms people have?
It says on the first attack it says headache, nausea, facial swelling, and constriction of the mouth and throat was the first one. Then it said the second one was nausea, feeling weak, and it says collapsing was the second one.
Those are all common symptoms of poisoning, so that's nothing that shouldn't be expected. Again, I don't know. I'm kind of lost at words with this because it's so odd to talk about.
Well, like, what were you saying, Brett? You said you thought it might be bug poison or something?
From the way it sounds, it kind of sounds like insecticide, or it could be. I mean, I don't know that much about mustard gas or anything. I don't know if Tim knows a lot about that and the symptoms of that, but it kind of sounds like mustard gas, kind of, because that's in the era of World War I and in between World War I and II.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like something like that.
Well, I wrote down some interesting things from some of the cases. In one case, it says the suspect was seen. It said that there was a suspicious car seen where the attack happened. It said there was a man and a woman inside. And then I wrote, one of the victims was an ex-judge's wife. And then I wrote, 3 houses were located within 2 miles of each other that were all attacked in the same night, moving in the same specific order. And then...
okay, sorry, Jerry.
sorry, I had like 2 or 3 more, and then I was going to go back. And on one, I wrote, a barricade was constructed outside the door to prevent an easy escape. Though the Hartsels were not at home when the attack occurred. Like, I guess they were spraying gas in the house, and then they set some kind of barricade outside the door so they can't run away. And then there's a place called Cloverdale where it says there were 4 people, all in those chemical suits, were seen running away from the scene. And then after one attack, sections of discolored snow were discovered near the victim's house. The snow had a sweet odor, like some of the cases were saying, and analysis showed it to contain sulfur, arsenic, and mineral oil. Yeah, like Brent was saying, authorities thought it might be insecticide residue, it says.
Huh.
Oh, and by the way, all those attacks happened within, 3 weeks.
Well, okay, with the facts that you just gave, now it sounds like there's more than one person, because one of the accounts you said told about a woman dressed like a man, and then another account said that there was a man and a woman in a car. So that the common denominator...
I think you got cut off. Oh, you're still there. I thought you got cut off.
Oh, yeah, my phone just... yeah, it's just... the common denominator between those 2 accounts is the woman. And I would think that the account saying that there was a man and a woman is more likely than the one where a woman would be dressed like a man. Or perhaps the eyewitness who said that the woman was dressed like a man really saw a man and a woman and just kind of discombobulated their testimony to whoever they talked to.
Well, like Brent was saying, I would be pretty pissed off if the gas was being pumped in the house. I go to chase after him and there's a barricade in front of the door like it's the one case. I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
By the way, that was at a church. They tried to barricade the door at a church while they were all in service and try to do that.
How messed up is that?
From that makes me think it's some sort of cult, maybe.
It could be. Well, Becky's on the line. What do you think, Becky?
Well, I actually didn't hear a lot of that because my Skype thing, it was messing up. And Blog Talk Radio, it said it stops. Whenever I get on Skype, it stops playing it on Blog Talk Radio, so I only hear one. But then it started playing it, so I had 2 versions of the show going at once. So I couldn't really hear what you guys were talking about. But I just caught something about I guess they tried to gas a church and it was barricaded, that they couldn't get out or something?
Yeah, and then Brent was saying you think it might have been someone that was part of a cult or something, and that's I started talking to her.
Well, I mean, the other cases weren't churches, so I don't know. I don't know why they, because you guys are talking about being random, and it is very strange. It seems like they don't really have any specific person. I remember talking about it on the show last time, and just being very curious as to what the motivation was behind it. Why are they choosing these certain people or locations? I mean, I don't know why, but
Nick was telling us earlier that happened at his church, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. The Mad Gasser came and tried to kill us all. Well, another thing Jared said was that one of the victims was a judge's wife.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Jared? Oh, okay, well,
yeah.
If there was a judge's wife, perhaps the Mad Gasser or Gassers, which may be the more likely scenario, just wanted revenge on a judge for something that was done to them. At least in that case, that's plausible, but then I don't know enough details about the other attacks, though, to really substantiate my claim.
Well, something really weird just happened. I would give you guys random nicknames during the show, like on the switchboard. So, randomly, I was typing in names, and it's giving me suggestions. So Tim right now, his suggested name by Blog Talk was Lewis Snakehead. And then Nick, instead of King Gray, Nick, yours is King Fleet, Brent is King Pin, and Becky's is Big Red.
Big Red again. Oh, God.
King Louie's the weirdest one. Or, what do you call it? Nick is kind of weird. Lewis Snakehead.
Yeah.
Tim, that's kind of odd.
Lewis Snakehead.
Because, sorry, this is a little off topic, I know, but I was trying to give you guys nicknames, and it said, I was typing in Louie or whatever, like Louie Anderson, and that's like King, then it said, do you mean Lewis Snakehead with a question mark for Tim's name?
Snakehead.
That's why I said, okay, I guess we'll keep that name. Anyways, It says, oh, what's that, Brent?
No, I didn't say anything.
Well, those were the West Virginia cases. Now I'm going to go to Illinois for a little bit. It says, the second spat of Mad Gasser incidents occurred in Mattoon, Illinois. It started in 1944 in August, and it continued for several weeks. And I wrote, the first of the 1944 Gasser incidents occurred on the house on Grant Avenue, Mattoon, on August 31st, 1944. Urban RAEF Rafe was awakened during the early hours of the morning by a strange odor. He felt nauseated and weak and suffering from a fit of vomiting. Suspected that he was suffering from domestic gas poisoning, his wife tried to check the kitchen stove to see if there was a problem with the pilot light, but found that she was partially paralyzed and unable to leave her bed. Later that night, a similar incident was also reported by a young mother living close by. And I'll stop there for a minute. It says that she was paralyzed when the woman tried to get up.
Well, that's some pretty powerful poison or whatever the gas are used.
Well, I'd like to also, that's almost 10 years later, by the way.
Yeah, that's another odd thing. The attack started in Virginia, but then they shifted to Illinois 10 years later, and there seems to be no connection between these people whatsoever, which just completely blows this case into some other dimension, I guess.
Well, like Brent was saying, I think maybe it could be like someone that's connected, or maybe it was some sort of a cult, like Brent was saying.
There could be a possibility that it was a cult, but unfortunately, we don't know if these people were members of a cult or not, so we really can't say for sure if that's the answer to the question.
Or what it is it some 1930s and 40s Crips trying to get their street credit by gassing houses?
Yeah. Well, but as strange as that sounds, with all the other possibilities out there, that could be just one other possibility is equal as all the others.
Well, anyways, where I cut off, I wrote, later that night there was a young mother that was living close by. She was awakened by the sound of her daughter coughing, but found herself unable to leave her bed. And it says, the next day, there was a third reported incident, and it says, this was by Mr. and Mrs. Kearney, and it says they reported smelling a strong, sweet odor around 1100 hours. At first, she dismissed the smell, believing it to be from flowers outside the window, but the odor soon became stronger and stronger, and she began to lose feelings in her legs. Mrs. Kearney panicked, and her calls attracted her sister, Mrs. Reedy, who was in the house at the time. Mrs. Reedy also noticed the odor and determined that it was coming from the direction of the bedroom window, which was open at the time. How naive, right? There's a gas there, and you're going to leave the window open. But anyway, I wrote, they returned home, it says that they left, and they came home at about 12:30 to find an unidentified man hiding close to one of the house's windows. The man fled, but they were unable to catch him. And the Kearney description was the prowler was a tall man dressed in dark clothing wearing a tight-fitting cap. This description was reported to the local media and became a common description of the gasser from then on. And it says, after the sensation, Mrs. Kearney reported a burning sensation on her lips and throat for years to come, it says. So what do you got to do with that one?
That's beyond belief and just really odd. Like I said, it could be, maybe it could be a cult or a group of people who are all very, very insane and they get their thrills from poisoning people. I mean, but there's weird cases like that.
Why would you leave the window open if you know there's been some people getting gas?
Yeah.
Not very smart.
Like,
no,
can you imagine if you went to the grocery store or something, or you were out for the night and you came back and there's like a guy ducking beneath the window pumping gas through an open window?
Although I could see that happening in some of the places we've been with Brett in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Gold Point?
Yeah.
Or even the Affordable Inn? No. I take it all back. The Motel 6 located by the Affordable Inn. That was more likely. But I wrote, initially, that attack that I just described, it was suspected that robbery was a motive. At the time of the incident, the Kearneys had a large sum of money in the house. And it was surmised that the prowler could have, maybe the prowler seen that they had the money, or that they, something like that they seen the money or knew about it. The local newspapers incorrectly reported the incident as being the first gasser attack, but it wasn't. But, as they noted, though, they actually didn't steal anything from the house. So go figure.
So, when these attacks occurred, there was never anything stolen?
There's never anything stolen or any actual robberies. This one was the one that I think Brent was talking about right here. It says, in the following days, it says, there's physical evidence was found a couple days later when Mr. and Mrs. Cordes on North 21st Street returned home around 10 at night again. As you noticed, it's always around 10 to midnight. After spending a few minutes in the house, they noticed a piece of white cloth, slightly larger than a man's handkerchief, sitting on the porch next to the screen door. And it says the wife picked up the cloth and smelled it. As soon as she inhaled, she became violently ill. She described She described the illness as being similar to electric shock. Her face began to swell and she experienced a burning sensation in her mouth and throat and began to vomit. Like the other victim, she began feeling weak and had paralysis in her legs. And something that they noticed on there was it was left on the porch in order to knock out the family dog, which we usually slept there, it says.
Okay, now here's my question about another stupid thing somebody did. If there's a handkerchief on your porch, why do you pick up and smell it?
I don't know.
Oh, look at this handkerchief. You just pick up, I'm going to take a whiff. That wouldn't be the first thing I'd do. I'd just throw it out or something.
What would you do, Brad, if you found that? Would you just toss it in the trash? I mean, at first, I wouldn't even think it was had to do with anything at first. It was me.
Yeah. I'd probably pick it up and take a big whiff and then, just, suffer the
then start seeing little leprechauns and unicorns.
Exactly.
Look at the
after that,
rainbows.
it says the FBI got involved, and the local police issued a statement calling on residents to avoid going out at nighttime, it says, and to leave your windows closed. And it says that a lot of people actually went on hunts to try to kill and shoot this person, it says, for people.
Huh.
How long
I think I do the same thing.
10 o'clock to midnight, and it's always through some sort of window.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask, how long have these attacks, span, from when they first started to when they ended? How long was that?
11 years.
Just 11? Okay, because then I guess that could still be a normal human being, but... Because I was going to say, if it was something that was lasting, for a really, really long time, just decades and decades, that still could be a normal human, but if it went on for a really, really long period of time, you would think, well, this can't be the same person anymore. But
yeah.
It could be more than one person, but it kind of reminds me of Spring Hill Jack. Just kind of this random attacker that it's, I don't know, it's just, although it seems like with Spring Hill Jack, he was more after women, but...
Yeah. Well, here's a good one for Brent. It says, somebody saw blue vapor coming from a car as it was driving down the road, spitting out immense amounts of gas all over the neighborhood, it says.
Okay, what was it?
Oh, it says someone was driving a car, some sort of a car, and it says they had some sort of machine spitting out gas, a giant, a huge amount of gas covering the whole neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
A car was spitting gas over an entire neighborhood?
No, they had some sort of a device or something squirting gas out all over the whole entire neighborhood.
Oh, wow. Well,
sounds like that one time we were in 1944.
4 people immediately come to mind who could be the Mad Gasser, people that are involved with intoxicating substances all the time. Cheech, Chong, Harold, and Kumar.
Oh.
Well, I was telling Becky in the chat room, evidently, how we were saying, like Becky said, obviously the Spring Hill Jack had it out for women more. This guy must have a big fetish for gas or something.
Yeah.
But here's a good one. The official government explanation on what was going on. There's a guy named C.E. Cole, and his hypothesis, he said that there had been no gas at these attacks at all, and that the people had mass hysteria, or their incidents had been triggered by chemicals carried from the wind from nearby industrial facilities.
Swamp gas and, what's the other one? Swamp gas and weather balloons?
Yeah. What do you think, Brad? That
the government's explanation for everything was swamp gas and weather balloons.
I was going to say, it it sounds almost like Nick was saying, like the aliens and the government. Like, why would those people be lying? And some of those people even went to see doctors, and the doctors said they were sick.
Yeah. I think the mass hysteria thing's kind of wiped out a little bit because the people were physically sick and had symptoms of poisoning. They sought medical professional help, and the doctor said something was wrong. So there's definitely something going on there. Now, could it have been industrial pollution? Maybe, but why do you got a bunch of people dressed like Ewoks running around with gas tanks on their back?
But because
they have a fetish.
The police in both states had analyzed footprints that were left behind, and both of them, it says some were female and some were male, and that they didn't match. So they think it's at least two different people.
That's what it sounds like from all the different stories, that there were numerous people involved. At least two, but probably more.
Well, like Brent was saying, you think it could be... How many people do you think had to be involved in something like this, though, Brent?
For that, I would say about two to four people at least.
Well, I got another question, actually, that pops to mind really quick. Where did they get all these things such as the poison and the equipment necessary to spread the poison?
I don't know. Well, I do have somebody online wrote what they think who could be the attacker. It says in 2003, Scott Maruna, a former resident of the area affected by the 1944 Mattoon incident, self-published a book saying that what he thought happened in the incident. It says they wrote that Llewellyn, who was a guy who was studying at the University of Illinois at the time of the attacks, was accomplished and a chemistry student. It says he was isolated in the local community because suspicions of being a homosexual. He's allegedly giving him both the knowledge and the motive to commit the attack. And they said some of the first victims were people that attended the same high school with that guy.
Wait, now what?
And they did say he had two sisters that could have been involved, is what they wrote.
That's an interesting guess or hypothesis, but I've never even heard of the book, so I couldn't give you a very honest answer. But
you
that's
better
a possible.
And you better hear about the book. You'll be getting it soon.
Definitely, I know that. But that answer is definitely very logical and could have taken place.
So what?
The guy could have just been ostracized by the community, and he could have been seeking revenge.
Okay. So they're saying the victims were people he went to school with and that made fun of him? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they said not all of them, but they said some of the people went to the same high school at the time that one guy did. And that's not for sure, but that's just what one of the people that got attacked thought.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Well, there was 4 or 5 different assailants, and there's 4 and 5 of us. So I think we should do a copycat assault.
Oh yeah.
Right, Brent?
Yeah.
Brent
I'll
can
be
drive
driving
his
the
car,
getaway
and Nick
car.
can make the machine and drive around the neighborhood.
Brent would die laughing.
On a serious note, though, I actually think I might want to get that book. Would you read it, Brent?
Yeah, I probably would.
So anyways, we have about 50 minutes left in the show, and before we go on to a commercial break and go on to our second topic of the night, I wanted to have my co-hosts say their final thoughts on what they think about this. Start with whoever wants to go first.
I guess I can. I mean, I don't really know what to think of it. I think it's possible it could be some sort of some sort of organization or group of people doing it. It doesn't sound like it's just one person. Or if it is, I mean, they targeted a bunch of different houses, and it sounds random, but if that one case is true about that guy, you know, saying it was people from his high school, maybe it was that. But I know when I talked about it last time, I talked about the Men in Black. It doesn't really sound so much like the Men in Black, but it just sounds like because the Men in Black are said to attack people and do things like that, if they have some sort of UFO connection, but you know, these people, we haven't heard anything about that. I just think there has to be some sort of connection between the people that were attacked, unless it really is random. But if that's the case, then I have no idea what to think about it. Just a group of people just trying to cause, you know, trouble everywhere, trying to kill people. I don't know why. That's my thought. So, yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like. Because it sounds like he's trying to kill people, whoever it is, or she, whatever. It sounds like, you know, they're gassing.
Yeah.
They're meaning to cause harm. They're meaning to kill these people. So, and did anyone ever die? I can't remember if you guys said that. Did anyone ever die from it?
It said 1 or 2 people might have, but it's just not officially confirmed because it hasn't been looked into as deeply as a lot of people would want to.
Yeah, see, I just think this needs to be investigated a lot more. I want to know why if there was any connection between the people that were targeted. That's what I really would like to know.
Well,
yeah,
what do you think is your final thoughts on this, Brent?
What's that?
So what's your final thoughts at this point in time on the Mad Gasser?
For me, I'm starting to lean toward, instead of being one person, that it's going to be a cult, because just the way that it sounds, just the attacks, like, I mean, not just, like, I got some of my ideas from movies and stuff, but I don't know if that's true or not about cults, but they'll try to keep their people out of like, you know, prison and stuff like that, and losing their members, so they would take out, you know, like the judge's ex-wife as like like to show that to tell the judge that this is a sign that, you know, don't be putting our people in prison or else we'll come after you, type of thing.
Well, I guess that is a good theory. I know we'll definitely have to revisit this case again because this is always one of our most popular shows of the year. It's why we always keep an annual show like this and the Spring Hill Jacks are 2 of our most listened to shows. But
So Jerry, you want to know my final thought?
We should do what's that?
Jerry, you want to know my final thought?
Yeah, I was going to go to that in
is...
a second, but I was going to say, don't you think we should definitely have a future show on the Spring Hill Jack and the Mad Gasser?
Of course, yeah.
Of course, we have to.
Of course, a horse, of course.
Well, I did find an article on the Czechoslovakia Spring Hill Jack type characters. That would be an interesting show, though. But what's your final thoughts on it, Tim and Nick?
Well, I think, of course, we just need to ask Nick because he is the Mad Gasser.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, the secret is I just eat a whole pepperoni pizza. I'm pretty bad after I eat some pepperoni pizza. You guys can attest to that fact. So, yeah, I just walk around and gas up people's houses after I eat some pepperoni.
Well, so one time we were in
reality,
Middle Meadows, though, and we left Nick by himself in his hotel room, so he could have done something like that over there.
Yes, I have the Mad Gasser of Placerville.
Like in all actuality, I think it's probably just like a madman who tried to go on like a killing spree or something, but it didn't quite go as planned or something.
Well, is that a dog?
Judging from what the listeners are saying, they said that they wanted to do another show. But yeah, I think like Brent was saying, it could be maybe it was someone that was part of like a group or a cult that didn't like the judge, or maybe if it doesn't have nothing to do with the judge, it could just be people. They have something against all those people. They might have something in common that's not listed.
Yeah, this is not enough information. It's kind of like the Kasai Rex.
Well, the Kasai Rex is one of our most popular shows too, actually.
All the bizarre cases without a lot of information.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to revisit this case soon, again, sometime before next Thanksgiving. And if we don't, of course, we'll have to do it for Thanksgiving. But we have 44 minutes left in the show. We're going to want to go on a quick commercial break. And when we go back, we'll talk about some personal experiences. And you're listening to BFP Radio.
So be it, Jedi.
Help the humans about to escape.
Get your paws off me, you dirty ape!
He can talk.
He can talk, 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 he can talk!
I can sing!
Ooh, help me, Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Oh, Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
What's wrong with me?
I think you're crazy.
Want a second opinion?
You're also lazy.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you endorse. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed. People yakety-yak a streak and waste your time a day. But Mr. Ed will never speak unless he has something to say. A horse is a horse, of course, and this one will talk till his voice is hoarse. You never heard of a talking horse? Well, listen to this.
I am Mr. Ed.
I love Basso. It's rich in chocolate tea. Chocolate flavored Basso is mighty good for me. Mama puts it in my milk for extra energy. Basco gives me iron and sunshine vitamin D. Oh, I love Basco. That's the drink for me.
And we're back on BFP Radio. We just talked about the Mad Gasser of Mattoon for the first half of the show. So for the second half of the show, we're going to talk about personal experiences, which is a continuation of what we didn't get to finish last time. Before we do that, though, I was going to say you heard your boss, didn't you?
Of course, that's my song.
Your anthem?
Yes, it's my anthem along with the Tim Allen sound.
Well, something interesting that I'd like to bring up real quick before we get into, I guess this is sort of a personal experience. We never really talked about this on the radio show all that much, but when we went to, it's a Bigfoot story, by the way. Yeah, when we went back to our Bigfoot location that we always go to, the second time we were there, I don't think nobody's seen anything as far as seeing an actual creature goes, but when we were walking the trail to check our cameras, you guys remember we heard those footsteps following us? It was like it would stop when we would stop, and it would walk when we would walk.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think that was, or what do you think?
I don't know. We could have been stalked by like a mountain lion, or it could have been a Bigfoot. Or it could have been the Mad Gasser.
Yeah, the Mad Gasser could have been out there middle.
It was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire on the freaking forest. Yeah.
But no, what do you think of that? Do you think it, like Brent was saying, if it wasn't, do you think that could have been a Bigfoot? Because I mean, if it wasn't an animal, we did hear. I mean, we've all seen those shows and different books where they talk about things like that happening. You know.
Well, I mean, if it was a mountain lion, we probably wouldn't be talking right now. My guess, unless it was scared of us as a group and just decided not to attack, but.
Yeah.
Didn't we see mountain lions earlier in the, or was that another night? We saw the mountain lions in the area.
I think that. What's that?
That was the same day.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because we were coming back. And, Because remember, we thought it was a dog.
I'd like to bring up. People, like skeptics say, for when you and me seen the Bigfoot, for instance, Brent, what would you, I know we've discussed this in person, but what would you say if a skeptic told you that wasn't a Bigfoot that you seen that night when you and me seen it? What would you say to them? If they said, how do you know that wasn't something else?
Then I would say to them, well, how do you know it's not a Bigfoot then? Do you see any bears or mountain lions or dogs or cats walking on two legs constantly? Besides that one dog with no front legs.
Yeah, that's what you saw. He jumped across the road.
Yeah.
Well, because I know you guys have all heard the story a million times, but to sum it up, me and Brent, mostly me, seen a creature a couple years back cross a road in a remote location, and it took off running when my light hit it, and then it jumped into the tree line. And what I was saying was, some people say me and Brent are liars, that we didn't see what we seen, and what I was asking Brent was, if people say it wasn't a big, like when skeptics say it wasn't a Bigfoot, what do we think? And someone in the chat room is asking if you think Bigfoot's a military experiment of some sort.
That's an interesting thing I haven't heard before.
Yeah, that's kind of out there, but it's definitely a possibility. I mean,
Stalin, didn't they say he did some experiments?
Yeah,
I think
Stalin.
It was him.
Yeah, he wanted to combine apes and humans. Those
yeah.
Say that. So sure, maybe the Secret Service is trying to combine ape and human DNA to form a new species to conquer the world. I don't know.
But what benefit would that have?
I don't know.
Are you going to conquer the world with 700-pound, 8-foot creature that you can't even put your hands on because it'll break you like a twig?
I don't know.
Another word, Nick. In another word, it's Nate.
Well, let's see. Well, the guy in the chat room also said because just because you don't see Bigfoot all the time, maybe he said perhaps they let it out every so often.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I said, I'm always open to all sorts of theories. That's that's kind of out there, but I believe it's a possibility.
When you say let it out, though, that sounds like it's only one, and these things are sighted all over the world, so there's got to be more than one of them. I mean, there's tons of them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's self-sustaining populations out there, so I don't think it's a military experiment, but I wouldn't say
right here, we have
no, definitely.
We have another person in the chat room saying, Exposing Demons says, military experiment is out there, and seeing a Bigfoot, is it? I just try to give everyone a fair opinion. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, did you have any personal experiences that you would like to talk about, Nick? Like paranormal stuff?
Well, let's see. I'd have to go into my, I guess I could talk about the first ghost I ever saw. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I looked at the foot of my bed, and standing at the foot of my bed, looking out the window, was an old man. He was an old, very pale white man with silver hair, and he had a red vest on with a black bow tie. And I remember he had this very cold and lonely look on his face. He turned and he looked at me, and he looked out the window. I was scared to death and just covered my head in the covers and didn't poke my head out again for the rest of the night.
But
that was a very surreal experience.
Was it like a older house, or why do you think there was a haunting?
I'm not really sure. Hello? I mean, my phone's acting weird, or the server's kind of crashing a little bit.
Oh, you're fine. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure why that old man and various other experiences I've had occurred in that house. The only things that were out of the ordinary, perhaps, in my house or around my house were there were a couple Indian burial mounds in the woods behind my house, and on a rock one time I saw a pentagram painted in a powdery red substance. It looked like dried blood. I remember seeing that, and I was so freaked out. I was just playing in the woods, and I stumbled upon this rock with a fire pit near it, and then a pentagram that was drawn in dried blood, at least what looked like dried blood. So maybe people were doing some occult activity in the area and drew the spirits to my house. I don't know. That's as good as a guess as I have.
Well, I was going to say, I don't even think Brent, I know you told me that before, I don't think you told Brent about that yet, the rock in the backyard.
No, I told you a long time ago. I don't think I told anybody else, really. There was just a fire pit, and it was near a rock, and on the rock was a pentagram painted in what looked like blood. I don't know who put it there and why it was there, but it's sure spooky as heck, and I decided not to hang around the area when I saw it.
Well, definitely. What was I going to say? Something interesting, though. I know a good story. When we were ghost hunting one time at this haunted hotel called the Boulder Dam Hotel. It's like a 1930s hotel. But we were in this one room. It was reported that somebody had died in this room, and then that had like a haunting in it. But it had this giant walk-in closet. It looked like it was converted. It used to be like an actual room in this hotel room, like it was like a separate room, but it was made into a walk-in closet. But anyways, when we were doing our investigating, one of our EMF readers, which detects electromagnetics in the air, for those of you who don't know, but it started getting a maximum reading, because it was one of the ones that has a dial that goes back and forth. It was getting almost close to maximum reading nonstop. And so Brent, he grabbed the EMF meter and set it on the floor, and we thought that it was something in the floor that was making it go off, because it was sitting there for like a good 30 seconds, go at that same reading. Then, as soon as we turn around and say, as soon as we turn around and said, oh, it's nothing, it's just the electrical, as soon as we said that, it died out. We couldn't get it back the rest of the night in that spot.
Yeah, I remember. Weird. I don't know. Yeah, I remember that. It wasn't on the floor though. It was on the wall. Remember, it was like right next to the. Well, it was close to the floor though, like the wall and the floor next to the TV.
Yeah.
Because at first we thought it was like. Oh. Well, I'm not totally sure because remember it was close to the wall and the TV, so we thought it was like probably like a power, like some kind of like electrical wiring in the wall or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, oh, it's probably just the electrical or whatever. And then we come back later and then it's gone.
Well, what else was bizarre was you did the same exact thing in the corner of the room that had like an armchair, and the same exact thing happened.
Oh yeah.
That was different.
Yeah.
Because at the time we didn't have our camera system. Otherwise, I think we probably would have caught something.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already had tons of personal experiences with the team.
What's that?
I said, just you know how it is, just us four, because we've been on doing all this stuff throughout the years. You know how many experiences we've had with stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've already discussed tons of it, but I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Honestly.
Well, I was going to say, Becky, did you have anything you wanted to share, or are you good for now?
For a personal experience, I actually just had one this week. It was like Monday or Tuesday. It was the 15th, or when was the 15th? I'm not sure when that was. Maybe it was before. But actually, I think I have. I've mentioned my experiences with the ghost cat. I experienced a ghost cat that walked at my body while laying in bed. That was May 14th, 2007, between 7 and 7:30 a.m. And I just experienced it again on the 15th, just earlier this week. And I was actually dreaming. I was asleep and I was dreaming about being in a haunted house. And it's like, in my dream, I could feel something near my head on my pillow, and it like woke me up because I could feel something touching my hair. And so I woke up and I was kind of looking around my bed because I could feel something walking on my bed. And that's what happened with my first experience back in 2007. I could feel what feels like a cat walking on my bed, but my door is shut. There's no cats in my room. I'm looking around my bed. There's nothing there. But I'm very tired, and I'm pretty much half asleep, half awake, and that was the exact same thing that was with my other experience. But I was conscious of what was going on, and I laid my head back down, and then I could feel it walking on my bed again, just like before. And I looked back up. There's still no cat on my bed. I'm looking all around, and I'm not laying straight. The first experience back in 2007 when I had it, I was laying straight, so I could feel the cat walk up my legs. And then when it stopped on my hip, and a pain shot through my stomach. Well, this time my legs were curled up beneath me, but I could feel it come up to me, and I felt it step up on me, and then I heard it purring. I could actually hear the cat purring, and there was no cat there, but I could feel it. I could feel it on me, and I could hear it purring. And then I just kind of looked around again, and then I didn't feel it anymore. But that's the only thing I really experience here is like the ghost cat that we have, or maybe we have more than one. I don't know, but
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, is that because I posted about it on my Facebook, and someone was saying about the hypnagogia, or however you say it, about that, because it's that transitional state between being awake and being asleep. And some people will say you'll have hallucinations then, you'll see things, you'll feel things, you'll hear things that aren't real. And I believe that's possible, but I find it strange that the only two times that that's happened to me is with, it's this ghost cat, which my mom and my sister have both experienced on a number of times too, when they're actually awake. So, but I only have it happen to me when I'm like half awake. But some people say that actually is when you're the most open or susceptible to paranormal, experiences. So I don't really have to think of it. To me, it felt real. It felt like, because I felt awake enough to know that I wasn't dreaming. I just woken up from a dream, and I could feel it on my bed. And I was looking up at the clock to see what time it was and to make sure there was nothing there. And to me, I think it was the ghost cat again. That's what I think it was. I don't think it was a hallucination. So.
Yeah. That's cool. Speaking of kind of the.
Oh well. Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, if anybody wants to call in to tell a story, the number is 714 area code 202-9924. Or if for some reason you don't want to call long distance, we could call you too. So just let us know if you need us to call you for whatever reason, because we could do that. But what was I going to say? For personal experiences, what's something we haven't covered?
Well, I have a story.
Well,
in mind.
I was like, Jared, this is a weird thing. How about you tell everybody about that thing that happens with the clock? When the clock starts moving by itself, does that still happen?
Well, it happened, I think, 2 or 3 times this year, but after mine and Tim's grandmother had died, at the same exact time every single day, I don't recall what time it was. I think it was 4:11 or 2:11. Every single day, the clock would literally spin all the way around and go around 24 hours and stop at 4:14. But it doesn't sound very weird to some people, but it's not supposed to do this every single day. It's supposed to reset itself once just for daylight savings, pretty much. But what was weird was I actually caught this on film consecutive days in a row, and it's on our YouTube page. But it did this every day for a couple months when it first started happening. I did it at nighttime and in the daytime, twice a day. But it hasn't been happening as much lately, but it still happens occasionally. Like I said, it happened not too long ago, actually, before the daylight saving thing was supposed to happen. But I think Brent, didn't you actually see it once?
Yeah, me and Brent saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was freaky.
Yeah, it was a little.
Oh, sorry, Brent.
What's that? Oh, I was just gonna say it was pretty unsettling watching that happen.
But you said you had a story, Tim?
Yeah, this one is probably one of the most recent ones I had, but it was actually at our old house about over 2 years ago. I think I told you and Brent about it. I was sitting on my old bed, at the old house. I was watching TV, and while I was sitting there, all of a sudden, I don't know, it made me look towards my doorway, but I look at my doorway, and all of a sudden my door literally, it's like slowly creaks open, It stops about halfway, which, I'm thinking, okay, a cat or something, one of our cats opened the door, and I look, there's no cats even upstairs at all. So then, I kind of go back in my room, I crack my door again, I leave it to where it's not all the way shut, but it's kind of cracked, So then I look back at my door again later on, and my door, again, it cracks open halfway, and then it continues to crack shut, and opens all the way, and then it actually somehow shuts back closed, and it was the creepiest shit I've ever seen in my life, because I was thinking, really? I've been a ghost hunting and everything, but in my own house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I told you and Jeremy and Brent about that.
Yeah.
I don't believe our old house is haunted or anything. I just don't know why. Like, my door would crack open 2 separate occasions. But the thing that was really unsettling, because I didn't think anything of it until the fact it actually creaks back closed again. Because my door doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want Brent to tell a classic story, though. Can you tell the story about when you told the TV to turn on or whatever?
Oh. Yeah. This was when I was in high school, and I was just chilling in my house in Las Vegas, and I was like kind of pissed off at work or at school, so I just came home, made a sandwich, wanted to watch some TV, and I was like, man, I wish the TV would just turn on right now, and then out of nowhere the TV turns on by itself, and I'm pretty sure I didn't have a voice-activated TV. My family's not that kind of rich, or rich at all, so so that was kind of an odd experience.
Dude, that was weird.
Just like one time, somebody said Brent had a night school nightmare too.
Oh yeah, you can tell us about your night school nightmare, Brent.
Really? We're gonna go through that again.
Yeah, maybe the creeper's listening right now. Maybe he'll call in and give you his opinion.
All right, I'll tell it. Just give me a second. My family's all in the living room right now. Well, it started when I was living in San Diego. Well, it didn't start. This is where it happened. I was living in San Diego. I was probably around 8 or 9, I would say, because I was in middle school. And I was just laying down in my bed, and I'd say around 12 to 3, that I woke up because I was going to turn off my hall light, because I used to leave the hall light on because I was so afraid of the dark, and I would leave my room door open so I had that light coming in, and like around that time I woke up because it was really cold in my room, and I was going to go turn off the light in the AC, and I see this lady standing in my doorway, just leaning against the door sill with her arms crossed in her hands, and I couldn't see any facial expressions or anything. I just know she had long hair. She had long hair that went past her shoulders, and she was just leaning up against the door sill looking at me. And she was tall. She was literally
around 5'11", 5'12", about how tall I am right now. But she was just leaning up against it, just staring at me, and I was just kind of shocked because I thought it was like someone in our house, like a robber or something. So I just like slowly pulled the covers over my head, and then just prayed for it to go away. And no, I did not take any NyQuil the night before.
I don't know. The creeper may beg to differ. I don't know, but.
Well, yeah, those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, on our forums, some guy told Brent that he took NyQuil and he was hallucinating the whole thing, and he argued with Brent for like a month straight, saying that he swore that it was a NyQuil nightmare.
But of course, Brent won that battle, though.
Yeah. He just pulled out a 12 gauge and shot him in the face.
Brent a friend and stuff.
I have something to add to my previous story that I told last week. You know, the one about the UFO that me and my coworker saw, or should I just retell that one so Nick can hear it too?
You can do either one, either way.
All right. So me and my coworker, we were on base, and we were going out to a building that was way out, like out of the way, and it was on like a dirt road and everything. It's probably about 20 minutes away from the base. But it was in the base, but it was away from the major part of the base. So it was just like on the outskirts of base. And we went out there and we cleaned our equipment, and then we were coming back, and then we see these two lights. They look like headlights, but they were just like really bright lights, and they were moving slower than a normal plane or a jet, and they were making really I don't know how you would say it. They were doing figure eights around each other, kind of, I guess you could say. And my coworker saw it, and he's like a total skeptic. So he doesn't really believe. He believes in the paranormal, but only so far. Like he has like he's one of the most skeptic people that I've ever met. But he saw the lights, and he was like, oh, that's interesting, and he didn't think anything of it, like it was a UFO or experimental jet or a UAV or something like that. And I was a little, not concerned, but I was a little shocked to see that, because usually on base you don't get the, like, it's UAVs and like the Predators and Global Hawks and stuff like that, they don't have lights on, they don't have like headlights or anything on that. And that was the only thing that I could think of that could move that slow in the air, but those things aren't really maneuverable because they're meant to stay up in the sky for 32 hours at a time at least. So it couldn't have been that, but you know, it could have been an experimental aircraft that I've heard some stories that float around base, you know, but I don't know if they're true, saying that there's a new aircraft out there, a new fighter craft that's unmanned but can fly really fast or really slow or stuff like that. But
yeah, I know they're doing unmanned military drones.
Well, yeah, like I do a lot of work with those, like the Predators, the Global Hawks, and the X-47, which is a unmanned fighter that it could actually go into combat with other like manned aircraft and take them out and stuff like that. But that's still in its baby phase. So, but what I was gonna add was when I saw the lights, when I saw the back of them, it looked like taillights on a car. Like you would look like when it made a turn, you could see the back of it, and it would look like it was a car flying in the air. So I have no clue what that could be, because no aircraft has taillights on them or turn signal lights.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess. Well, and then I guess kind of somewhat related topic, but remember when you guys seen that? When you guys said you seen the red light in the car?
Yeah.
Yeah, another related UFO thing. I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day at work. I was sitting there bored out of my mind, and I was thinking, what was that thing? Because again, I was there, but I didn't see it because I was looking down.
Yeah.
If you guys want to say the story again, Jared, either one of you guys.
For which one?
The
red light.
Lit up red.
Oh. Yeah, the quick version of the story was we went to this UFO spot that we always go to, and it's kind of up in the mountains. It's a little ways out of Las Vegas, probably like about an hour, maybe a little bit less. But anyway, so every time we've ever been up there, we're always the only ones there. So just to give you an idea of that nobody goes around here. So on our way home, we were driving through this canyon, and I was in the passenger seat, Brent was in the driver, and Tim was in the back. And Tim, for some reason, was covering up with a blanket in the back seat. And
covering up? Wait. Let's stop it. I wasn't covering up. I was looking down at the blanket on the floor.
Whatever. You're messing with the blanket. Same thing. And for some reason, the whole entire car lit up red for like 2 seconds. And me and Brent seen it, but Tim didn't see it, and it was kind of weird. I was just going to say that's the story.
That is still really weird.
Yeah, that still concerns me to this day.
Yeah, that's what we think we say. Well, I don't know. Maybe we all have missing time. Maybe that's why I can remember looking down at the blanket. Yeah, because I remember Brent had a blanket in the back, on the floor of his car, and I was looking at it. I was like, "What kind of blanket is that?" And all of a sudden they were like, "Holy crap! Did you see that?" I'm like, "What?" The car just lit up red. I was like, "No." I was really amazed by that blanket, I guess.
Maybe Tim was the first to go, or maybe the red light was to paralyze me and Jeremy so they could take Tim.
Exactly.
Take him away from that fascinating blanket.
Yeah, remember how much I was, and then the blanket was like the head of the joke, like the butt of every joke that night. I kept telling them, what if they were abducted? At least I would be able to hide under the blanket and stuff.
Yeah.
Remember, what if the aliens were trying to grab at me and I was like trying to fight them and not hiding in the blanket?
Yeah.
In the back of your car, Brent?
I know a good story I never really talked about. I worked the graveyard shift at work, so I get off work around anywhere between 3 and 7 in the morning. But one night I got out of work around 3 in the morning, and I decided to take a little drive through that same canyon after work. And it was still dark out. It was pitch black. I was the only car on the road, and I was driving through this canyon looking at the scenery, and I see these lights up on top of these hills in the distance. I thought that they were radio towers or something like that. Next thing I know, these lights start moving around on this hillside, and you could see they're ticking up almost like a dust trail almost. And it was weird was they were moving all the way from the mountain, and they were going across the road, going to the top of those mountains. They were traveling back and forth like 2 or 3 times. And it started to concern me and freak me out, so I started going faster to get to this town called Blue Diamond. And these lights literally started coming closer and closer to the car until at one point one crossed next to the car, and I took a picture with my camera phone. And Brent was dead asleep, or he was getting up for work, one of the two. But anyway, so I sent Brent this picture, and I called him. I was really freaking out. I was dripping sweat, and I was speeding super fast trying to get to this town because these lights were almost following the car. I had no idea what they were, but they're like the size of like a basketball when they were posted next to the car. And they looked silverish in person, but the picture they turned up brown.
Yeah.
I still have the picture saved to my old phone. I need to get that online, but I was going to say, on my way back from that, once I got to the town, I sat there for a while, and when I drove back to Vegas, I didn't see the lights anymore. So I don't know what that was.
From what I remember, didn't you say it was following you back to back home, until you got to town and then?
Well, I got to Blue Diamond and I didn't see him, and then when I got back on the road, I seen him for a couple minutes, but not all the way back.
Yeah, because I remember you saying you came to Blue, and then you came back, and then when you were coming back, it came down to that hillside again, or no, it was it came down the hillside again, and then it looked like it was gonna run into your car, but then it became parallel to your car, and it was just followed like right next to your car, and that's when you took the picture and you sent that to me, and that picture kind of freaked me out.
One thing that's weird I'd like to tell people who haven't been to this area is when you're driving through this canyon, if you're driving, the one side of the road literally has a giant canyon wall all the way around it, and then the left side of the road has like kind of like a rolling hills, I guess you could say, on one side. And they wouldn't go, and Vegas, the side with the rolling hills has like the Las Vegas is on that side. But the lights wouldn't cross over the hills all the way where the city is, but they would stop right where you can't see, right where the hills block the view from the city.
Huh.
But I don't know, Nick. Knowing that area, what do you think it could have been?
Well, I know before you filmed some possible UFOs coming home from Target, you put those pictures online. So they could be, they're one of two things, in my opinion. It could be an alien craft, especially if they were following you. That definitely shows some intelligent agent behind the lights. It's not just some natural phenomenon. It's not lightning, in other words, like some skeptics may say. Or it could be an aircraft from Nellis Air Force Base, and some guy was testing out an experimental aircraft, maybe one of those drones that Brent was talking about a little earlier. So I think it's one of those two things.
Yeah, do you remember the pictures that are on our website?
Not those ones. This was another one I sent to Brent on, what was that, 2 years ago, something like that?
Yeah, that was a while ago when I had my Virgin mobile phone.
Oh, so that was back in, high school days, then, right? Oh, right after high school?
Yeah, it was it wasn't right after high school. It was probably, a couple years after high school. Because I remember I lived in this house that I live in now, and I woke up from a dead sleep.
Feel the Helgen
And then he went,
light.
"You woke me up."
Oh, yeah, that's the famous part. You woke me up. I was sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
That's the famous one.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Jerry, you got to introduce the lover thing, Jerry.
Which one?
The sound effect.
I will, but you might not be able to hear it very good. Look.
And now I have to Brent do his impression, though. He did the best impression of that sound clip.
I could hardly hear that sound clip. It sounds like noise on my end.
Yeah.
But we have 6 minutes left in the show, and I was going to say, before I don't think we have any time for any more stories. We'll have a quick discussion, though. Our next upcoming episode next week, it is on ghost ships and alien civilizations, which is our listeners actually requested both of these topics. And then after that, it's Europe's Bigfoot. So that should be an exciting show because you don't really hear about that at all. Well, I don't think I have ever heard about it besides on our show.
Yeah.
And Brent's going to be the one to tell it.
Yeah.
I'll tell the tale.
Yep. Brent's going to spin yarns for hours.
And then she's off part of his foot in a boating accident.
Exactly. Well, Jeremy, remember the UFO and Brent, the UFO we seen up there towards our Bigfoot spot the first time we went there?
Oh yeah.
On the way home. That thing was pretty crazy. I'd never
night.
seen a UFO like that before. That was the most massive UFO I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was like literally the size of like 50 square blocks. I'd say like how many would you say, like 3 blocks big or something like that?
At least.
That thing was friggin' huge. Over that reservoir.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I still think about that sometimes.
Well, we have a couple minutes left. I was going to say, do you think that, Nick, are you going to be on the next show, Nick?
Yeah, I'll get on the next show, definitely.
Or at least the Europe's Bigfoot one.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make all the rest of these shows. I'll set time aside. I'll just tell people I'm busy. I can't do anything at that time.
But
actually, it's kind of funny. I got an sorry. I was saying it was kind of funny. I got an invitation in the mail today for a dinner at 6 o'clock, which would be 3 o'clock your guys' time out west. And I was thinking to myself, sounds nice, but I got a radio show to do.
But something interesting I'd like to say, though, is pretty soon, sometime in the next couple of weeks, we're going to try to redo our forums and get that going again, because we've been kind of slacking on that. But, again, if you have an idea for our radio show or you want to report a sighting or just write us anything, you could go to our website, Bigfootspad.com, or you can always check in here, blogtalkradio.com/BFP-team, and one of us should be able to get to you on one of those 2 ways. Or, again, Becky, do you want to say your website again?
Yeah, it's thelastsoul.webs.com. And it's still kind of like under construction because I'm trying to create a new header and title for it, but there's still a bunch of stuff you can go check out on there, so if you want to do that, you can.
And I guess we'll end the show like 3 minutes early.
Well, don't you want to give away our YouTube link, too, so we can watch our videos?
You can. I have that one memorized.
Okay, it's youtube.com/user/BFP-team. We have a ton of videos on there. From our most recent things, we don't have too many on there because we're making a documentary and we don't want to give away all our evidence just yet, but there's a couple on there from that last time. It makes Brent very happy if you went to our YouTube account.
Yeah, Tim, can you post our link in our chat room?
You'll get $100 pair of sneakers. Oh, was that me, Tim? That one show you said, no, Brent would send you a check for $100. Wasn't that what you said?
Yeah, and you were going to give him free shoes.
I was going to give him free shoes. Brent was going to send him a check for $100. Yeah, you'll get that. I'm just kidding. Everybody.
Again, if you report... Well, we need to re-update that. Nick is now he's going to give you 2 pairs of shoes if you report a UFO to us in the next 48 hours. Nick's going to send you 2 boxes of shoes because he has no business.
Exactly.
Becky will give you a prize.
I'll give him what?
A prize.
A prize.
Okay.
But, anyways, tune into our show next Saturday at 3 o'clock Pacific. We're going to have, like I said, our next episode, and you won't want to miss it. Again, I'll let my co-host say their goodbyes.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
All right, bye, everybody.
Again, thanks, everybody, and tune in next week for BFP Radio.